The Control Freak is the most unique induction cooktop on the market. It has features, functions, and benefits that its competition simply doesn't have, like probe control, USB functionality, dual fan cooling system, probe control, and a through-the-glass sensor, just to name a few. The through-the-glass sensor of the Control Freak is what makes it all possible. Not only is it a cookware indicator saying there's something on top of the surface or there's not something on top of the surface, but it is a temperature probe that monitors the temperature of the pan precisely within a single degree. The dual fan cooling system of the Control Freak is one of the biggest differences between the Control Freak and other induction cooktops. It's so important because one of the main faults or reasons that other induction cooktops fail is because the internal components actually melt. With the Control Freak, it has two independent cooling systems, one for the electrical components and one for the induction coil. This not only extends the life of the unit, but also keeps it running throughout a busy service. The max temperature of the Control Freak is 482 degrees, and it can hold that temperature for a very, very long time. During that time, heat will start to build up within the unit, so the dual cooling fan system is able to expel that heat very well from the internals of the body and keep the Control Freak running for a very long time. The Control Freak features what we call closed-loop cooking. Not only does it take the temperature of the cookware, it also has probe control and probe control oil, and a built-in thermometer. Let's dive into each of these. When you use probe control, it will monitor the core temperature of the food that you're cooking and raise the temperature to your set point and hold that indefinitely. This is something that has been revolutionary in the development of the Control Freak. You would use probe control oil when you're doing something like deep frying. The probe will sense any food that's been dropped into the oil, bring the temperature back up very quickly without overshooting. This is something that deep fryers simply can't do. You would use the thermometer function of the Control Freak when you simply want to monitor the core temperature of a product as it cooks. A good example of this would be a protein that's been pre-cooked sous vide and you want to sear it on the Control Freak, but make sure that you maintain that perfect core temperature that you achieved while cooking sous vide. The Control Freak is user programmable. This means that chefs can define a temperature, intensity, and a timer for start and end features of the Control Freak associated with a given recipe. This ensures that any of their recipes within the kitchen, no matter who's cooking, are going to be followed exactly. The timer function of the Control Freak is actually one of my favorite features. You simply turn the knob to the right up and it starts on its own and it beeps when it's done. If you push the timer button to interact with it, you can set timer end features like repeat, stop cooking, turn off, things like that. The timer feature alone built into the cooktop is a game changer. The intensity control of the Freak is one of its absolute standout features. Imagine being able to leave something in your pan and let it simmer or stew or scald for however long you want and not have to stir it, but it won't scorch. Imagine if you were bringing up milk for cheese making or yogurt making. You would have to stir it as it comes up to temperature because around the heating coil, you would get coagulation. With the Control Freak, that will never happen and you can just let it go and it'll come up to the temperature that you set and it's ready to go. The USB functionality is great for chefs who have multiple units, and from what we've seen, chefs who have at least one Control Freak want to purchase another Control Freak. They fall in love with it and they start doing a lot of their recipes on it, things that they were doing previously on a stove or some other induction cooktop, and they start cooking them on the Control Freak because they understand the control and the flexibility that this unit allows them that the other methods don't. And then instead of having to replicate presets and programs to another unit manually, you can use the USB function to simply transfer those recipe programs to another cooktop. It'll also be used in the future for software updates. The recipe programs that a chef has stored on their Control Freak can actually be emailed to someone and then downloaded to the USB and installed into someone's Control Freak. Now, it's important that the USB that's used is the one that's supplied with the unit. They're formatted differently than other USBs, so you want to ensure that your customers are using the USB that's supplied with the unit.